Cider. Should I run our intro, then the intro, then we've got 20 people. We'll wait for the 50. We'll wait for 50 people to get in the chat here before we got to do it, guys. This is just how it goes. What's going on, chat? How are you today? We have our special guest here, Austin St. John. How you doing, my friend? Out in Texas, sunny Texas. Is it hot over there? I'm guessing.
Oh my God, man, we've had some record heat. Like I think today, hold on, today it's only 106 in Dallas.
Only.
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago we were up to, I think we hit 114, 115. It was, I was starting to reminisce being overseas in the Middle East. It was, I mean, we weren't 120s, 130s, but I was starting to feel like maybe we were heading back there.
But you guys got the humidity going on too, so it's just like even worse, right?
Humidity
what is worse?
No, you get down around the Gulf Coast, you know, Houston, and I mean, those guys, the heat's going to be even worse for them. They've got all the humidity here. Short of when it's raining, there's really not much humidity.
So having been in 120 plus degree in the Middle East in dry heat, is it worse having humid heat, or is it that's 10 degrees less, or is it worse being in that?
I mean, that's kind of a preference thing for people. I hate humidity. You know,
okay.
Florida, rarely gets above, the 90s. But the humidity for me, if I'm not at the beach in the water, I don't want to be there. Like, I moved out of Florida and came here to get away from the humidity. So my personal preference, I'll take the heat all day, just keep the humidity away. Short of like a thunderstorm, which is a great break from the heat.
Nice. Cool. Well, if you guys don't know, Austin St. John here starred in a little show called The Power Rangers back in the day.
Mm.
I remember I was 11 years old and I came home from school. And back then, like we didn't have like the internet to tell us what we were going to get excited about next. We just like showed up and like there'd be something on the screen. And you'd be like, wait a minute, this isn't the cartoon I watched last week. What's happening here? And there was nothing like it on the air at the time. This was wildly different. And I watched it and I saw it, and I loved the entire cast. I loved everything that was going on with it, and I watched it through you guys being there. And then kind of when they turned things over later, I quit watching it. So you're it. So
Yeah, it was kind of a big surprise, and you nailed it on the head. And there was nothing else like it for a decade or more. It aired in 40 countries and 90 languages. It was number one in the world for maybe 10 years, and had hundreds of millions of viewers. So it was ridiculous. It was a tidal wave. It was a global tsunami. It was a lot of fun though. A lot of work, a lot of fun.
So how'd you get like cast in that? Like, I mean, were you just like auditioning for random things in Hollywood, and or was this kind of one of your first deals, or where'd this
It
come
was
from?
the first deal. I was
Okay.
I was literally a teenager in high school, and I would go to school, and it was all pretty straightforward. Long story short, I ended up at the first audition. It was a cattle call that was open to the world, and you never would have thought a kid would. The only thing I had was martial arts. That was all I brought to the table back then. I knew
That's a pretty
nothing.
cool thing to bring to the table, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, it was cool. I was proud of it, and I'd worked hard. I'd been at it since I was, a small child in the world of martial arts, but I knew nothing about acting. And thank God for the other guys. I mean, they brought me in under their wing, and they taught me everything I knew. And the casting director, who was, I was 17, and she was this beautiful blonde woman, and she clearly, was in her late 30s, maybe early 40s. She kind of had this Stifler's mom, hot mom vibe, and she was very patient with me, walking me through the process. And then the director, who was Strath Hamilton from Australia, he was patient in teaching me the fundamentals. I mean, the guys who were holding the cameras knew more about acting than I did. So it was thank God for their patience and everybody's ability to bring me in. And from there, it was just the show went nuts, and it was kind of crazy. I have a channel called Fanward, FANWARD.com, where Walter Jones, who played Zach the Black Ranger's there. We have Jeremy Sumpter from Peter Pan there. And before the holidays are out, we're getting ready to bring in several other actors. And I've probably got 200 videos there, including a lot about the early show and how it got going. So
Cool.
there's stuff there you can check out if you want.
Awesome, guys. I put that link in the chat for you if you're interested in that. Cool. So, I mean, so you got the lucky character there because you got to be the leader and kind of like the more badass out of them, the one all the kids wanted to be.
Yeah, and I
Uh,
was the baby. I was 17. Everybody was older than me. So I'm still not really clear on how that happened, but I'm excited it did.
that's awesome. Cool. And so when that hit you, like, and so people started watching, were you recognized like immediately on, like, did people see you when you're hanging around, go to high school and all that? And what
Well,
was that like?
no, I had to drop out of high school to take the job
Oh,
because,
you did?
oh yeah, I mean, filming was 5 days a week. It was, I mean, the guys will tell you we were probably, I mean, I can't speak for the others, but Walter and I, we shared a house together while we filmed, along with a couple stunt guys. And I mean, we were probably up 4:35 every morning on the road, and then on set by 6 usually, sometimes a little earlier, sometimes a little later, and then we would film until after dark.
Oh,
And it
geez,
it
painful.
was it was 12, 16-hour days for the first year. And then Saturday we would come in and we would do something called ADR. and it was audio digital recording for any of the things that we had filmed where our voice was lost. So we would come in and lip sync or mime it, and it was busy for the entire. We filmed, like, if you look at Friends, you know, your average TV series or any other, you know, normal TV series. Not that Friends was normal because it was another massive success, but they film on average like 13 episodes a year, and that's normal for a union TV show. Our first year we filmed 60. It was crazy, and
That's wild.
it was wild. And we got about a week off for Christmas, so it was cool. It was amazing. It was fun, and it was a boatload of work. As far as being recognized goes, that whole first year we filmed so much. Like when I got my day off, I went to the gym and the beach, maybe if I had the energy, and then slept and got ready to rinse, repeat, and do it again. So it was
Wow.
there wasn't a whole lot of. I don't think I even got recognized that I know of. They would bring, like, you know, different people to set, but it's not like we were out walking around and people were swamping us. Definitely not in the first year. Not too much.
That's crazy. And I'm thinking about this in the context of like the Hollywood strike that's going on now and all that. Like, do you think you were fairly compensated for all that work, or like
Oh,
how, not
no,
at
no,
all? Oh,
no.
no, that
Oh, no.
sucks.
We were a non-union show. You can ask any of the actors, and they'll either chuckle, very politely agree not to talk about it, or just I'll flat out tell you, no. It was pretty terrible.
John, there's
Okay.
this thing called the peace conference, okay? And the peace conference happened. You got sent to the peace conference by Zordon, the floating head and the tube guy, when you asked for more money. That's what happened. They
Yeah,
were like,
Ah,
bye now. You're going to go
yeah.
fight for peace and never be seen again.
That's right. That was it, and it was one of those things where, you know, the entire cast had originally agreed to go with us, and because I went to the
wow.
entire cast, and I was like, "Hey, man, we literally could make more money working at the window at McDonald's,
That's
literally,
crazy.
and we'd at least have benefits at McDonald's, maybe even a 401k." And so, long story short, you know, my whole goal was to just have the cast and the crew, everybody behind the camera, paid SAG minimums. I didn't even care if they took the show unit. I mean, that was my preference, but I just wanted everybody paid SAG minimums. Nobody would have got rich off that, not even close. But Walter and I might have been able to afford our own homes, you know,
Wow. That's
stuff like
tragic.
that. So it just was what it was. And in the end, you know, half of the cast decided that, well, one got offered a promotion, and his character got written stronger and he couldn't resist that. So they divided us, the old adage, divide and conquer. And then he talked the other two into staying, and they stayed. And Walter Twee and I decided we weren't turning back, and we didn't. And I wouldn't change that to this day.
Yeah, you probably made the right call for life. Now, I learned a lot about your life after this just from your Kickstarter page here, which is pretty cool. So you actually decided to go become like a paramedic and actually go overseas and help out in the Middle East. I mean, that's quite the life change. What got you kind of on that journey?
Well, my great grandfather was a World War II bomber pilot. My father was a Mustanger in the Marine Corps, which means he was enlisted, got out, went to college, and then was an officer. Those guys tend to be pretty respected because they get both sides of the coin. My brother is now a retired recon Marine. My mom was one of the first female cops in the state of New Mexico in the 1970s when you know, her own chief of police and other high-ranking members tried to have her killed because at that time women definitely did not belong in the police force. If you were to ask guys back then, they were. I mean, it was the essence of sexism, and it was pretty rough. They tried to have her killed for it. So I grew up with a family that, you know, stood up for what they believed, and weren't shy about what was on their mind, and they understood what it was to serve something bigger than themselves. And I realized after Power Rangers that I was the only one in the family that had pretended to be a superhero and never actually been. And that kind of bugged me. So I thought, I couldn't join the Marine Corps. I'd had too many broken bones. I'd been busted up too bad from the world of martial arts because I tried and they wouldn't take me. And so I ended up later on getting my college degrees and found out about the fire department. A buddy of mine came up while I was bartending my way through my second college degree. He's like, "Hey man, you're an alpha male. You like to fight. You're, the tough guy." He's like, "You should come check out the fire department," where he volunteered. And I was like, "Hell yeah, that sounds great." And I realized that this could be my opportunity to not pretend, to not have been a TV guy anymore, and maybe I could save one. And I spent 4 years as a volunteer, and I fell in love with it. And then once I realized that I could make a living at it, I mean, not a great living. I was never going to be rich being a medic, but I loved what I was doing, and I loved that. I loved being there when people truly needed me, and or needed someone, and it was an incredible thing to be there. I mean, sometimes it was terrible, sometimes it was dark. There are things I'll never forget, both good, bad, and the ugly, but I wouldn't change that I did it, not for a second. And then I found out, long story short, about the DoD and contracting, and I decided that, especially after 9/11, because I was on duty as an EMT basic during 9/11, and we all went on duty, and everybody in Northern Virginia and the DC area, everybody rolled. They called in medics from medics, fire, police, everybody and their brother, man. The Pentagon was an anthill of everybody. And after watching that hot mess and being on duty for that one, I decided I wanted to get overseas. I just wasn't really sure how to do it. And long story short, the right people approached me, and they found out I had skills with hand-to-hand combat. They found out that I could shoot, and they found out I was a doc, which is what the military refers to medics as. It's doc. So I was not a doctor, but and I decided, you know what, that was the next step. And so I got in with those guys. I spent 4 years in the Middle East. I was attached to Marine Corps and Army operations, worked with the Air Force, worked with the Navy. Then I got credentialed through the country's oldest medical school, George Washington Medical. And then I started teaching emergency medicine to the military, to all the branches. We held classes for and helped military medics and other medics overseas and doctors stay on duty and keep their certs up. Everybody has to do CEUs, continuing education units. And so that was part of what I picked up, and I got to work with the guys who are our biggest heroes as far as I'm concerned, the military. And so working next to them was something I'm proud of. I spent 4 years over there doing it.
You're muted, John.
I don't know how that happened. That's such a great story, and that makes me very happy to support your projects here, because if anybody deserves it, somebody who's actually going over there and helping people like that really deserves our support, chat. So we're gonna get into your Kickstarter in just a second. We got a couple super chats from your friend Bats, who might have accidentally sent this twice, but thank you. He says for $5, appreciate it. Hail ASJ, thank you for the great childhood memories a couple of times. So cool, appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
All right, now this is your new book. So you've done your Middle East tour as a medic, and you came back. And have you always been like kind of writing? Like where did your creativity and putting out a comic come from?
So this came from the fans. One of my first shows back, I attended I think it was SAC Anime, and I knew nothing about anime. I grew up watching Looney Tunes, like cartoons. That was Wile E. Coyote and Daffy Duck and those guys, And so it was those were some of the things that I grew up watching. And when I came back, I got the SAC Anime, and I saw this guy over in the corner, and he was signing a bunch of autographs. And somebody told me, like, "Oh yeah, he's an anime guy. He signs for free." And I was like, and he had a huge line. And I was like, why is he signing for free? Like, that's crazy. And they're like, well, the anime guys, they don't make a lot of money. And I was like, oh, well, they should fix that. Then I got to asking about what is anime. I was like, oh, okay. And they explained it to me. I was like, okay, so anime is cartoons. And they were like, no, anime is not cartoons. And it was like Demons and Daggers came out. I was like, holy crap, okay. It's not cartoons. What is it? And then the book got opened to me by the fans, and everything from, Dragon Ball Z to Attack on Titan to just the list went on. And I was like, wow. So you had, Sailor Moon, which seems pretty innocent. And then you've got, some pretty dark and foreboding stuff out there. And so I started learning about it, and I realized this is pretty cool. This is a platform that the fans seem to love, that maybe I could enter, that would be so much easier than making a TV series. And so the idea was born. I sat down with the owner of SAC Anime. His name's Scott, or was at the time. I'm not sure if he still does. And I pitched him an idea that came to my head after talking with the fans about the continuation of what happens to Jason 30 years after he hangs up the red suit at the end of the world. And there was a whole group of his staff upstairs, and I pitched it in my voice, and I did the whole intro, and they were all, doing this, with the goosebumps, and they're like, man, that would be wicked. You should do it. So I started talking more and more to the fans and getting ideas from the fans, and they had incredible ideas, so now I'm pulling in ideas from, evil things that are ancient stories in the Philippines and in Latin America, and ancient Native American history, and, Aboriginal history in Australia, and old Russian folklore from, stuff that they were told. And I've got all these crazy characters. And then I started building the world based on things the fans were telling me they loved. And it basically became this melding of Lord of the Rings meets Mad Max with some Assassin's Creed elements, with maybe some Pacific Rim elements later on, and demons and druids and cannibals and elves and ancient bloodlines and reincarnation. And then I threw in personal elements, like, in book one, the wife and daughter that go missing, it's my wife and daughter's names. And one of the covers of book one has my parents on it. And the one of the bases in the opening of book one is a complete recreation because of OPSEC. I obviously, if any of you were in the military, you understand what OPSEC is. I can't put pictures of any post I was on in the book, so I completely recreated a post and put it in Afghanistan. And there's a couple fire teams of Marines there that end up there at the forefront of the beginning of the end of the world. And it's just, in some ways it very loosely correlates to my life. In other ways, there's just personal details. One of the covers for book one, you see a little Asian girl in yellow. Wonder what that might be a referral to, So there's Easter eggs in there if you're a Rangers fan, but the story is really meant to stand on its own. So
Cool.
The Ranger turns into the Reaper.
Awesome. It looks like we've gotten 3 backers so far, so thank you for supporting our guest chat. We really appreciate that. And we're going to watch your trailer here in a second. It looks really cool. Origami, thank you for the $5 super chat. Ignore the first one. I think it didn't go through. He says, I meant cheers. Already backed the project. Awesome. Glad you backed that, my
That's
friend.
cool, man.
And thank you for being a channel member for 13 months here. Yellow Flash asks for a $20 super chat. Wow. Thanks for the nice super chat. Austin, can you speak on the Netflix Mighty Morphin Power Rangers special? Did they even ask you if you wanted to come back, and would you have done it? If so, RIP.
Yeah. They asked all of the OGs to come back. They spoke with JDF. They spoke with me. They spoke with Amy. And each of us had our reasons for not coming back. For me, I usually come back every 5 to 10 years on average. And I think it's one of those things where I just came back. I think it was 3 years ago for Beast Morphers. And I'll be back again, just not this time. I know Amy had her reasons, and JDF. Well, I mean, I'll never know what his reasons are, but I'm sure he had his reasons, and I'll be back in the future, and I wouldn't miss it. I'm hearing about rewrites and or not rewrites, but the writing of new scripts. I have no actual details to share with you. I can't confirm any of it, but I'm hearing there are other things in the works that, should they do them right, that could be cool. I would love to be a part of it.
Nice. Cool. We'd love to see you, of course. Yeah, I guess on JDF's passing and all that. Is it odd? I guess being in a situation where people you worked with like aren't with you now. Like, I mean, how do you process that? That's I guess something that's kind of we're all gonna have to deal with that as we get older here.
Yeah. I mean, I the world lost Twee
Right.
in the early 2000s, and I didn't know about it. I was on the East Coast. I missed the news. I've never been one for the news. I didn't even have social media until maybe 8 or 9 years ago because I'd had enough limelight. I was in the fire department. I was just getting into fire and EMS, and somebody popped up. They walked up. I think I was standing next to one of the engines in the fire bay, and this guy walked up, and it was old news. It was probably 2006 when I found out about Twee, and he walked up, thinking this was old news because to him it was. He's like, "Bro, man, how do you feel about what happened to Twee? Like that had to hit you hard." And I was like, "What do you mean? What happened to Twee?" And then he told me, and then he realized I didn't know, and it was like a shot to the gut. And she and I and Walter, we were all close at one time, but Walter and I were real close. So that was one that hit hard. And then when JDF was, 2 days before the world knew, I think Walter called me up, and I was at a show in Oklahoma, and I was in a car on a way to a dinner that night, and Zordon, David Fielding, who plays Zordon, he was with me, and the car was full of some other people from the show, and we were all finally taking a load off from the day to go eat, and Walter called me up and dropped the bomb. And JDF and I, we were not pals. I don't know that guy ever put out a video ever saying nice things about me, but I was dumbfounded. I was at a loss. We may not have been buds, but we were an enormous part of each other's lives for 30 years. And to just see that end like that was, I couldn't have been prepared for it. And I'm sure his family couldn't have. And I know many of the fans were stupefied and blown away by it too. Especially the circumstances. There's no easy way. You can't prepare for these things. It's we all know eventually we're going to lose people close to us. Like it's part of the programming. We know it's going to happen, but when it does, there's no pre-prepared words. There's no playbook for how to manage it. It's crazy. So that night I was told, and then I spent the entire next day at a Comic-Con in front of the fans who nobody knew yet. The world didn't know. And they're all coming up to me and they're smiles and they're happy. And, they're talking about everything. And it was the toughest acting job I had to do, to put on a smile and not tell people. So in the end, there's no preparation. And I'm just glad now that Jenna and I'm glad the family and I have made up. They came to me not long after, and they're like, "Look, any of the nastiness that went on, that's gone now. We're moving on." And so I've told them I'll do anything I can to help them out, whatever form that means. I'm happy to help them out. And they're moving onward, and they're working hard, and seeing some of the cool stuff that Tammy and Jenna are doing. I'm glad for them. I'm glad to see the fandom giving them love, and I think that's the way it ought to be.
That's true. Mighty T just says this conversation is making me want to call my mom. Yeah, dude, that's a big takeaway. Make sure to always just take care of the ones you love, man. It is
Right.
you never know what's going to happen. It's important stuff.
That's right.
Okay, right. I'm going to try to move off of sad stuff because you got something awesome here. Let's try to get ourselves a little happier, my friends, and God rest the souls of our departed. But let's check out this this trailer for Redemption 1 and 2 and see what we got going here.
Loops back around.
Yeah,
And
so
you're muted.
this is kind of one of those things where the premise is I didn't want to do zombies. I love zombies. I mean, I love zombies. Zombies are cool. There's a million good zombie movies, and there's probably 2 million terrible ones. But I wanted something. I wanted something evil, a new darkness, and I'm not even going to explain what it is, not yet. I'm going to tell you that this is something that you can't kill with bullets. It is something that is pretty terrible and horrific, and I think it's a lot of fun. I think it's new. I think it's exciting. I think it is a new sort of darkness that should give people the creeps, man. When you go reading on this, that was Ken Salinas' cover, and that's Reaper standing there on a pile of hell after a bad day at the office. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Well, this looks pretty I dare I say high T alpha male, like my audience is gonna love here. Is that a good way to describe it?
Yeah, that's a great description. It's definitely high tea.
Awesome. So looks like a lot of action. The art's beautiful. Who did the art on this?
So a lot of artists for covers with Ken Salinas, Cole Hayes, Zach Spivey, David Sanchez, Alan Qua. Off the top of my head, that's not all of them, but that's the list. Interior, I had DJ Hall in book one. This interior artist, I can't believe I'm ghosting on it right now, but he's out of Latin America, and he's incredible. You can see all the work when you go to the website.
Yeah,
I have a page that's dedicated to everybody involved, and I do that because I don't believe in making it to the top and not giving kudos to everybody that's put me there or that's climbed with me. And so everybody that gets involved, there's no secrets, there's no hidden names, and pretty cool stuff. In fact, I'm getting ready. What I need now is I need to find all sorts of people with all levels of talent in the world of comics. So if you're a pro that's out there, shoot me an email, let me know, because I'm looking at all sorts of things right now.
cool.
Righteous.
That's great. This is really awesome looking stuff, guys. And so there's a lot of different options here. You got digital PDFs. Of course, you got a catch-up package, and I think a lot of us are here for the first time. So if you want to check out
Yep.
1 and 2, that's probably the best way for us to go right here. And there's also a catch-up for the print version, and pretty inexpensive. I mean, 2 issues for 15, but you could charge more than this. I got to tell you that right now.
Yeah, I'm trying
So,
to keep it functional for everybody. You know what I mean?
yeah. And we got a bunch of tiers down below. What's our big tiers here? What are the awesome stuff that we could get
So
at
the
the end of
fun
this, my
stuff,
friends?
there's a
Yes.
tier at $500 where you can
Okay.
literally have your face drawn on somebody that's going to get killed or has been killed. So you could be in a stack of heads. You could be a zombie-like creature. You could be one of the bad guys that gets drawn in. Like book 3, I start introducing um, characters not yet seen, cannibals, scavengers. So there's all sorts of places that you could be drawn in book 3 if you wanted to do that here. I think that's a $500 tier, which is pretty reasonable. And then if you're a
Definitely.
business, you know, there's a $1,000 tier, and there's an $1,100 tier. And one of those tiers, I mean, it's not just have an ad in the book. You could, I think one of them specifically is you can be drawn into the story as the business. So book 3, we're going to introduce a post-apocalyptic carnival that is going to be pretty twisted. So it would be like an old sign, like if you were Pizza Hut, for instance, there could be an old banner hanging off the Ferris wheel that says Pizza Hut, and then your website, and just cool stuff like that. I've got a lot of other cool stuff, and there's just regular old Power Ranger paraphernalia in there too. If you want to grab coffee mugs, you can do that. So it just depends on what your preference is, what excites you, and where you want to spend. I wanted something that was super affordable for the guys who are struggling in today's economy, to something at the higher end for those who are doing better in today's economy than others are. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So that's something for
absolutely.
everyone.
That's the beauty of crowdfunds and all that. And you can put up a book and just sell it, but a lot of fans want to contribute more and want to get something special that's different too. And so you have all those options, which is fantastic. So good stuff.
Yeah, one of the other things is the goal here. I'm going to do 50 comics, but what I really want to do is the animated series.
50.
There it is.
Yeah, 50 books.
All right,
Books.
tell me about that.
Yeah, it's a huge story. I mean, if you look at a storyline like Lord of the Rings, I mean, that's a massive world. So I'm looking to do a type of, and I say Lord of the Rings meets Mad Max because there's elements of both. Demons, druids, cannibals, post-apocalyptic world, dystopian, which is just the complete breakdown of law and order. So there's going to be some pretty twisted stuff, but the goal has always been to take the funding from the comics, put out more comics, and then eventually, as it grows, because this is a grassroots campaign, the real goal is to get these Kickstarters up to 6 figures and then turn around and make the animated series. And I'm talking.
You sound like me.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice. Cool.
So
Oh, we love it. And we absolutely love it. Got a few more super chats here. Spider-Man, thank you for the $5 super chat. My son absolutely loved you back in the day. He adored the Red Ranger. The only problem was finding toys back then. It was rough. Thank you, ASA.
Yeah, there was some real rough times back then. I can remember when we did the appearance, the only physical appearance the six original cast members ever did was at Universal Studios in the 90s. And it was off the chain. They put us in the biggest theater. I mean, we're talking Madonna, Aerosmith, pick the biggest band, Michael Jackson, you know, any of the biggest singers and bands you could think of went on that stage. We filled that theater up 5 times in a day. And
wow.
And then turned people away because they shut down the park. We couldn't, it was after hours. We couldn't get more in. Traffic backed up 8 miles into downtown Los Angeles. People were camping out the day before the shows. It was ridiculous. So pretty interesting. A ton of fun. Totally crazy. Totally wild. but a lot of fun. And that was really the first rock star moment. You know, I won't speak for the other guys, but that was my first rock star moment. You're standing backstage, and I mean, literally, they're chanting your name, and it makes the hair on my arm stand up again 30 years later, because it was that intense. It was wild.
That's cool.
See,
J Bama fan for $2 says, whose idea was the white power? Oh, I see what you did there. Bad J Bama. I disavow.
see, there's a neat
Go ahead.
little connecting line between comics fans and Power Ranger fans.
Yeah.
It's a little known guy named Stan Lee. And Stan was over in Japan looking for people to do a cartoon for the X-Men at the time. This was before the 90s cartoon. This is way back. And he originally found Sun Vulcan on television while he was at a hotel room there. And he absolutely fell in love with how true to life it was with their sense of justice. That these men were going to just pursue it with all their might and all their vigor, of course. And there was so much violence in it was the thing that he really liked. He liked there was like, here's how you be a good citizen. And if people disobey that, you punch them in the face. And he really liked how quirky it was too. Because at the time, Sun Vulcan was like the third or fourth iteration of Super Sentai. So they had moved into like the what appealed to Japanese children. So one of the more famous things that Stan talked about when he brought it over to the US was like, there's a refrigerator that's holding a family hostage. It's just a refrigerator with arms and legs, but it has a pistol. And it's holding them hostage, and Sun Vulcan has to stop him.
Of course, that makes sense.
So it made it 3 months, Sun Vulcan with just a voiceover, no new casting, just a voiceover in San Diego on a regular television station before they kicked it. It was too violent. The moms were complaining, the kids were emulating the violence everywhere, and so they kicked it. However, the woman that was traveling with him, with Stan Lee, went on to become Fox Kids' like programming director. And when she went to Hayam Saban looking for new things, he had a bunch of crazy stuff. But when she finally turned him down on everything else, she asked him, is there anything else, Mr. Saban? And he said, well, I've got this pilot. And so the story began. So all thanks to Stan Lee. She saw that. She says, that's what Stan liked. I know it'll win. And so they got the opportunity. She called Stan. She says, you better tune into Fox News on Saturday, Fox Kids on Saturday. Got a surprise for you. Bam. So the biggest thing about the franchise is what you're talking about with all this, like filling the big studios and things like that. The reason is because at the time, nothing had ever existed like it, as you said, but we just need to tear that back a little more, because way back out here in 2023, there's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of copies of Power Rangers, a lot of stuff inspired by Power Rangers. But way back when that first started, there was nothing on television that had real life people kicking the crap out of real life people and then telling you to do your homework at the end of the episode.
Right.
There was nothing out there that had family values strapped to a Bruce Lee movie. So it took off immediately because little boys were like, yeah, I could do stuff. I could be that guy. I could be Jason. That's really easy. All I have to do is wear a red shirt. Then I could beat up Lord Zed. And it just built. When you guys weren't on television, everybody was filling the gaps. If whatever happened on screen, they were like, okay, so like we're gonna play now the between episode of Jason fighting Goldar until the second part came out the next weekend. So we were all like, no, you're Goldar and I'm Jason and you're going to get beat up because I'm the good guy. And we'd play it out. That's just how it was back then. So like when you guys went up on that stage, that was the chance for all of that imagination to get like verified that you're real. You're not just on television. Unlike the turtles who were stuck in foam suits, you guys walked out there with your turtlenecks tucked right under your chins, holding those helmets on your sides. And those kids, it was real. You were there. You stepped out of television into their lives. Amazing. That's never been done before.
I've never heard it described like that. And this is one of the this is one of the things that makes speaking with the fans who are now old enough to tell me, you know, their thoughts, their vision, how we impacted their lives, who their favorites were, whether it was me or any one of my castmates or all of us. It's something that I couldn't do 30 years ago. You guys couldn't do that. If I met you 30 years ago, you were hiding behind mom's leg, or, you know, wearing a cast because you jumped off the sofa and broke the lamp, or you were in trouble because you were playing at school. And I get to hear all this now, and I think this is one of the most magnificent things about Power Rangers. I love the show now more than I ever did.
Exactly.
Because of this, because of that moment, and all of the others yet to come just like it. That is amazing to me.
And
Really speaks to me in real life too, Cider. I mean, your excitement, I transcended that. I wasn't exactly playing these things, but I had this dream about Kimberly one time. And then in that dream, Kimberly came up to me. Anyway, back to Red Redemption.
Yeah, you're not alone. You're not alone, bud.
I just want to point this out. The reason why I used Zio in the intro for us is that I feel it's your best performance. When you were brought back for that, they just let loose for you. You had the American stunt actors working with you, and you were just able to go ham on those robot guys. You had, I don't know if you were like into the EMT thing at that time, but you had bulked up a lot. You were like a tank walking into that command center, and the tiny little trays, they could have piled on top of each other and they weren't as big as you were. And of course, there you are, and as I showed you at the beginning, doing that morphing sequence with that. And that felt so much more powerful than holding up the power coin when you did that. It was just your whole body was involved in that movement. And I couldn't help but get into it as a kid too. Just like, Steel Gold Power! It just, ugh! The whole body went into it.
Yeah, Gold Ranger was crazy. When I came back, I'd been competing. I'd been fighting in the jackpot world, and
that explains it.
Yeah, I was in good shape as a Red Ranger, but when I came back as Gold, I was 5'9", pushing 200 pounds at about 5% body fat.
Damn!
Wow.
So my quads were 30 inches. My shoulders were 60 and my waist was about 30. So, I mean, they wouldn't let me take my shirt off as a Gold Ranger when I came back. I think there's maybe 2 episodes or 3 where they put me in a tank top and they're like, you just do not look like a teenage boy.
No.
So it was different for sure.
Yeah. And in Forever Red, you were like the same size again. And when you rolled up on that bike, you were making the bike look tiny. And I was like, what are they doing with this guy?
Yeah. I took 4 days off from the fire department. Well, I took 2 days off and traded 2 of my off days. I took a few days off. So I was busy then too. It was great. My chief, he was like, you want days off to go do what? Really? You're going to go do some Hollywood stuff and then come back here with us. I was like, hell yeah.
Yeah, you guys are cooler.
Yeah, I enjoy this. So, and that was cool. I kind of felt like the Godfather walking back on set.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
It was all about you.
Yeah, it was really neat to see how the other Reds had decided to develop their characters and carry on and create their own legacy, and that was really cool.
Yeah, it was interesting because you had gotten all that muscle when you were showing up in the hangar there, and then on the moon scene where the stunt doubles and the suits had taken over, they had them up on the wires. But for whatever reason, Disney was like, no, we're not going to do this polite little tap to the chest thing. We're going to send these guys full force on these wires into these stunt doubles so they go flying for feet. So it looks like Jason's pumping iron off scene, like, gonna screw up Serpentera now, gonna screw him up bad, and you just show up and level the Machine Empire. It's great, man. It made perfect sense, though. I don't know why they did that, but it lined up great with like how your physique was looking when you showed up there. So
it was.
Snyder's getting too excited here, Chad. He's getting too excited.
He remembers, and that's the cool thing is, no matter where I go in the world, what country, what culture, or who they've been to need to, or what they look like, everybody has their own memories and their own cool just moments, and it's just awesome to be a part of. It really is.
Rose, thank you for the $5 super chat. Just supporting the beauty that is this panel. That's right. Thank you. It's mostly because of Cider. Mr. Hat, thank you for the 1999. We appreciate it. Hey, Austin, I'm
Thanks.
24. I grew up on Power Ranger reruns. You killed it. What's your opinion on the Power Ranger series that came after Mystic Force? Thank you, John, for your content. I'm releasing my comic because of people like you. That's awesome, Mr. Hat, and I'm glad you're doing that. It's been a while.
I'd be lying to you if I told you I saw any of that. I wish I had a cool story for you. And I think maybe all combined, I did 120-ish episodes. And I think maybe I've seen 3 of my own episodes. Other actors are all about watching their stuff. And that's cool if that's how they are. I was never that guy. I did my work. I was like, I'm done. I'm moving on. I got to see this face every day when I shave anyway. So I'm not really big at staring at work I've already done. I've got other movies that I've filmed that I've never seen, and I never will. And I'm okay with that. I do my work and I move on. I'm looking ahead, and my hope is that you guys enjoy it. I've done other rom-coms. I've done another TV series on Amazon. I'm getting ready to re-release my main website, austinstjohn.biz, probably in the next week or 2, 3 tops. And there's going to be a projects page. There's currently a projects page, but it's getting ready to be vastly improved. So there's going to be stuff on there like Forever Red and some Gold Zeo episodes, and there's going to be direct links to some of the video game stuff that I've done and other films. I did a film with John Schneider in 2021 called Tres Leches, complete rated R comedy, and I did it just to have a ton of fun. I play a super stupid cop who can't catch a couple of teenagers, one of which who may or may not have had interesting relations with his wife. So, there's just a lot of different things that I have going on, other projects. I'm getting ready to sign another TV contract probably tomorrow for something I'm going to film before the year is out. So I've got a lot of stuff that is all over the place because I want to do it all. I don't ever want to be limited to any one thing. And I haven't been, and that's been my life. I've never been limited to one thing. I'm always down for trying new stuff. And I hope you guys are too. I mean, how dull would life be if it was always the same thing? And people are like, well, I can't get out of it. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You can get out of it. You can do cool stuff. You can be a part of new things. You just got
to have a true artist spirit with that, because, there's a lot of people who don't care and just take a paycheck and all that. But it sounds like you're just like the new experiences and the new and just trying something different, like in the realms of what you do that's what art's all is about. And that's what making a comic's about. I mean, you're doing this right here with Redemption. Also, I mean, you are creating your own sort of like action film prototype comic, whatever you want to call this, like universe, and you're doing this right here as well. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, and cool. I'll tell you, I had somebody ask me the other day. They're like, "Well, I'm afraid." I'm like, "Congratulations! There's 2 kinds of people that aren't afraid in life: those that are certifiably insane and those that are lying to you. Everyone else experiences fear, and I'll tell you this: if you don't face your fears, they will become your limitations. Deal with it.
Good advice. Yeah,
take the cuffs off and go do it."
Brightest Day Audiobooks, thank you for the $5 super chat. I just got back from Dragon Con where I organized the Power Rangers cosplay photo shoot. Let me tell you, the PR love is still strong and real. That's great to hear.
That is so cool. Dragon Con. I mean, have you guys been?
Oh, it is the best party I've ever been to in my whole life.
You just go home and sleep for 2 days afterwards.
Yeah, I love parties, and like most conventions, I write comic books, and that's why we have a good comic book audience here. And so I've been to conventions where it's like you're just selling your wares. I've been to conventions where it's just panels. But Dragon Con is just a giant hotel party, and it is. There's nothing like it. It's so great. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'd say I have great memories, but I drank too much and I don't. So
yeah, Dragon Con is wild, and you can't. There's no explaining it to anyone that hasn't been there. There just isn't. It's not like any other Comic-Con. Like Power Morphin really isn't like any other Comic-Con, like New York Comic-Con or San Diego. They are all their own entities. So, and it's pretty neat to meet other writers and other artists and so many talented people. It's kind of cool to just be a part of. You can walk in and just take it in. You can't help but learn something, see something new, be a part of something new. And if you don't walk out of any of those shows having not been inspired to do or try something new or different, then I think maybe you have to check to see if you have a pulse.
Nice. Origami, thanks for being a channel member here, and a great question. What is Austin St. John's thoughts on the Boom Studios Power Rangers run? Have you checked out any of those? I mean, they present you as pretty awesome in those. So
yeah, they do some cool stuff. I know Kyle. I know Ryan. I know both the main writers for that stuff, and the incredible writers, incredible artists. And have I read them? No. Have I read through some of them to get a better understanding? Absolutely. In fact, I just sat down last weekend with Kyle Higgins while walking past Mike Tyson and Richard Dreyfuss. You know, it was kind of a crazy day. And I think what I have read through and what I do understand about Boom is they did a really, and this is part of what inspired me to do Redemption, is they just created a whole nother world, and they did it shamelessly, and they did some cool stuff. Whether it's the Go-Go series or the Lord Draken series, each, you know, their own stories, and each their own worlds, and they both work, and they both are awesome. So I think it's really kind of amazing. I love the Omega Red. I think that's an amazing idea. I loved when Jason and Trini swapped suits. I love that they made Jason and Trini an intimate thing. I thought that was wild because Jason never would have dated Kimberly. I don't do high maintenance. I'm more the chill intellectual woman type, and that was Trini. So pretty cool stuff. So I love it, and I know you guys do. So I'm kind of looking to tie some of those same elements into some of the Easter eggs that I use in Redemption, and it's a ton of fun.
Great. Well, guys, definitely check out this comic book right here, and we really appreciate you being here and talking with us. It's been a great hour so far. For people who are new here, do you want to tell them exactly what Redemption's about one more time?
Yeah. Redemption is a whole nother world. It is what happens to Jason as he turns from the Ranger into the Reaper. It is 30 years after he's hung up the red suit, at the end of the world, as the world melts down. It is demons, it is druids, it is elves, it is cannibals, it is scavengers, it is dark, it is archaic, and it is a melding of worlds you have not seen yet. For the fans that loved Power Rangers, who need something else to grow into, this is that world.
Cool. Is it a much more, I guess, adult than the original cartoons, or not cartoons?
Absolutely.
Sorry, live action show would be for sure. Yes.
There's no naked women. There's no profanity, but it's dark. Good. It's dark.
That sounds awesome. Well, guys, check this out and support our guest here. He's done a great job. I saw this book and I just was like, wow, I better reach out to him and see if I can sell some books for him here, because this looks exactly what's up our alley over here. And we're glad you did this. So, do you got anything else, Cider? Or are you?
No, I'm
cool.
Proud of everything. I don't want to tie it up. This has been great.
That's it. Cool. Sweet. Anybody else in the chat? Last questions before we roll on out of here and go about our merry ways. Let me know. I'll try to give a couple seconds for the chat to catch up here.
Well, as we see right here at the bottom, we made sure that everybody knows what the book kind of looks like, what to expect here. Cool character there, the main character with his sniper rifle, automatic murder machine gun. What do they call it? The assault rifle 15. Is that what it is?
So it's a modified M4.
I'm not a gun.
That's all right. That's all right. if those of you who are in the military, you'll see that book 1 opens up in Afghanistan, and those of you who are not in the military, you're going to get some experiences and tastes of things that that will be new and exciting for you. And book 2, which I've just released, I introduce a new insane character called Skorpodreken, but I don't even give her a name yet in book 2. But you're going to see her, and I'll tell you that what you see when you see it, it's not done yet. Lots of cool and amazing dark characters to come in the books yet to be released. So stay tuned.
Awesome. We got one more super chat from Geek Adventure. Thank you for the $5. We'd watch PR with friends, little cousins when we were in college. All the actors were our age, so we were checking out the girls. I think that's pretty common.
Yeah, I mean, that's if you weren't, some of the girls checked out the guys, some of the guys are checking out the girls. It was that's what teenagers are supposed to be doing. That's what teenagers do. So
these kids these days are stuck on their video games, sir, and I can't get them. I've got to see a kid.
Yes. I'm glad we could give you something live to look at.
It's good. Claudia CA, thank you for being a channel member, and I think we'll wrap up there. We really appreciate you being on the show. Somebody told me Amy Jo plays pickleball now. I think that's the most important question here. Like, what are your thoughts on pickleball, and why doesn't she just play real tennis?
Wow. There's the question and the judgment in a single swipe. Very superhero-like. I didn't know she played pickleball. I have no idea. I'm betting she's probably better than average if she's playing pickleball. And other than that, I know nothing about it. But I wish her the best. And for you tennis goers, man, chill. We'll see what happens. This sounds like its own battle right there.
Yeah.
Pickleball, tennis, pickleball.
You wouldn't believe, man. Like you wouldn't believe.
I've just learned something dangerous now. I know it.
Are you ready for the outro?
Let's outro it out. Good stuff.